It's been a slow week for movies, so I figured why not review one I missed the first time around.
We have 15 hours before this all goes to hell.
Are you dreaming in their language?
I know why they're here.
Hey there guys, how are you? It's me, the Canadian Movie Buff, with a review of Arrival. So Arrival is a sci-fi movie directed by Denis Villeneuve. I'm pretty sure I butchered that last part, but you know who I'm talking about, the guy who directed Sicario and Prisoners. So the story goes that these shell-shaped ships, try saying that 3 times fast, they land all around the world and everybody's trying to know who they are and what they want and why are they here. Amy Adams plays a linguist professor, so she's an expert in language and verbal communication. She gets recruited by Forrest Whitaker because they need her skills in order to communicate with the aliens and figure out how we're going to resolve this problem before we resort to war. Now, Denis Villeneuve has done some pretty impressive work over the past few years. He's starting to make a name for himself in Hollywood. He works a lot with mystery and suspense, so I was wondering how he was going to incorporate that into a sci-fi movie since this was sort of out of his element. That's not to say this movie is bad. In fact, if anything, it shows that he has a knack for different genres and he should always explore his options. The cool thing about Villeneuve is that he has a certain style and a way with cinematography, and he knows how to use that to bring you to the edge of your seat. One thing, I noticed that he likes to do wide shots and then slowly zoom in. You may not notice it at first, but if you watch the edges of the frame long enough, you'll definitely see it. And since he knows how to use different camera angles and shots, he makes even the most boring shots interesting in one way or another. It's like the guy knows what his audience is and knows what people want in a movie. And by knowing that, he strives to make his movies as visually appealing and as visually interesting as possible. Also, the music that's paired with the cinematography is pretty awesome. This is the 3rd time he's worked with composer Johan Johansson. The pun is not intended here, but Johansson knows exactly which notes to hit. At certain points, you'll hear this loud, distorted organ sound that's kind of reminiscent of the original Godzilla roar. Oddly enough, it fits because Godzilla is a monster and these aliens are sort of monsters. The point I'm trying to make here is that Godzilla is a monster that wreaks destruction, and we don't know whether or not these same aliens are monsters that want to wreak destruction. And the music is able to work around each scene and just elevate it to the highest point. Although I wonder if Johansson got some notes from Hans Zimmer, because the style of this movie's soundtrack mixed with that of Hans Zimmer sort of sounds similar in terms of notes and use of organs, the highs, the lows, and some of the pitches. Okay, enough about the directing, the cinematography, and the music. Let's talk acting. Amy Adams and Jeremy Renner have some pretty good chemistry together. I'm guessing they sort of had to, otherwise they wouldn't be able to play these 2 scientists who are working together for months on end, trying to decrypt this alien's language. And it ain't easy, it's some pretty stressful work. They ain't trying to decipher some French guy's physics paper, they're trying to put together this whole otherworldly form of communication. Forrest Whitaker is sort of the stereotypical military guy who keeps telling them, you gotta hurry up, otherwise we're gonna start firing missiles at it. I feel by saying stereotypical, it sort of puts him in a bad light in terms of character, but the truth of the matter is, no matter what role you put Forrest Whitaker in, he's always going to give 110%. You know how in most movies like this, the military is seen as like a brute force, they are these bullies and they use imitation to get their way? Not the case with Forrest Whitaker. If he told me to do something, I would do it. Not because I would be intimidated, but because I respect him. And with every surreal sci-fi movie, you get a little twist at the end. It flips the whole thing on its head and it's kind of bizarre, but it didn't bother me too much because it had a great build-up and it had a fantastic delivery. I guess my one complaint about this movie is that it finishes on an open-ended note. It's not that I mind open-ended endings. Inception did that, and it's one of my all-time favorite movies. I guess when I was walking into this movie, I was expecting something that would be more affirmative, a bit more conclusive, and not something left up to me to make up my own interpretation. It may be a little early to say this, but Denis Villeneuve is becoming one of my favorite directors. He knows what kind of camera shots he wants, and he knows how to use them to their fullest capability. And by doing that, he moves the story forward all on its own. It's easy to see why he's worked with Johan Johansson 3 times already. He makes a great movie, and Johansson makes an awesome soundtrack to go along with it. Amy Adams, Jeremy Renner, and Forrest Whitaker are definitely going to have Oscar buzz surrounding them, but between Forrest and Jeremy, I have to give this one to Renner because he was more of a key character to the plot. The plot is easy to follow, but it has some deep themes, so watch and listen closely. It's most likely going to get overlooked by the Academy because that's what's happened to Denis Villeneuve's movies in the past, and it would suck if they did because Arrival is a total incrediblast. Alright, that's my review of Arrival. Have you seen it? What did you think about it? What's your favorite surreal sci-fi movie? Mine is Inception. Leave your answer by commenting down below. And as always, this is the Canadian Movie Buff saying I hope you had a fantastic weekend at the movies. See ya!